Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video here we have created one of the route, and here you can see that I have created one of the route as a report Marksheet get, and that is one of the get method, and I also put one of the target. That means right now I want to get all the data, and we have to get all the data with the multiple table. If you now go to our Marksheet, that means the student marks, okay, and into the student marks here you can see there is one of the foreign key of the year ID, the class ID, the assigned subject ID, and also the exam type ID. That means that is all that on the foreign key. Also right now we have to create one of the relationship between all the table. We have to create that relationship with the year ID, the class ID, because we have to get all that our name, right? So, and then also that is our ID number. So here I have created one of the URL. So that is our URL as a Marksheet generate that get. In our Marksheet controller I have created one of the method as a Marksheet get method. So into the Marksheet get method I want to get all the data. For the reasons here we have to pass that as a request, and then obviously that $request, right? So make that sure you add that request and the $request, and after that I want to get all that our data. So first of all I want to take one of the variable. I take that variable as year ID, year underscore ID, and this year ID will be our request. That means the request, and from to the request I pass one of the year ID. If you go to our Marksheet view page, and from here you can see that is our name, I pass that name as a year ID. So that will be our requested year ID, right? And also I want to get all that our class ID. So I take one of the another variable as a class underscore ID, and that will be as a request, our request class ID, right? So also I name it the same name. Maybe if you go to our view page you can see that for the class I name it as a class ID. So that will be our requested class ID, right friend? And then also I want to take another one as a exam underscore type underscore ID. So that will be our request. So from to the request I pass that exam. That means the exam type will be our name as a requested name as a exam type ID. So now that will be our exam type ID. And then also another field I have take as a ID underscore number. So I name it, that will be our request, our requested field name. Our requested field name for the ID number is actually the ID number, okay, that is ID underscore number. So now I take all that our request, okay. So here first of all I get all the things, so that is our all that requested name. I take that things everything with this variable. So now first of all I want to count all that our fail student. Because of all here I have already did one things. If you go to our mark, into the mark you can see I have named it as a mark as a 90, there is a 40, the 50, and also here I have calculated one of the data. If you go to our mark generate, so into the other cause, that is our mark, and here I have created as a mark generate is account. So into the mark management, you can see there is a clear mark grade. So into the mark grade I have already assigned something. I have already assigned that that is our fail will be as a less than 32. So that means that 33, that will be as a fail, right? So now first of all I want to find out this mark. That means I want to count that fail all the things. So if you want to do that work, first of all I want to take one of the variable, okay. So better I want to put one of the note as a and that is will be the and method. So that will be the and method. And also I want to do one things before in our this grade page. Into the grade page I have used direct, right? I have used that as a 500, that is a 400. So that means all that our numeric data. So here you can also change it with the different way. I show you, like first of all if you go to that edit. So right now I want to edit everything. I don't want to use that as a .0. So I only want to use that 5, and that will be also only as a 5, okay. So I make it, I just simply remove all that 0 from here, and now click as a update. So now it's updated, and also I want to change everything from to this position. That is our edit, another one. So now from here I remove that 0. I remove that 0, click as a update. So you can also display it with the different way. I show you, like first of all I want to actually edit all that our name, that means the 3.5, I want to make it as a 3.5, and that will be as a update. I only remove that numeric, all that 0 data, that is another one as edit. I want to remove it, and also I want to remove it, and then that will be the same, click as a update. So that is our remark is also on here, and then there is our another 2, click as a edit. So I remove that 0, I remove it, that will be as update. And also there is another one as a D. So for the D, that will be started from the 1, and that will be as a 1, click as a update. And then there is a 0. Now I click as a edit, I make it as a only 0, okay, only 0, and then only 0. Now click as a update. So now you can see everything is updated. So friend, here if you want to use that as a numeric data, then also you can use that one of the number format. I show you, you can use it. So that is in our mark grade view page, right? So now go to our mark grade view page. So that is our mark, that means in our backend there is our mark, and into the mark you can see that is our mark grade view page. So into the view page, before I have direct access our grade name, right? So now I want to change it. I want to change that format. You can use it as a grade name, and then there is a grade point, right? So that is actually our grade name, and that is our grade point. So for the grade point I want to update this portion. If you want to use it one of the number format, you can use it. So that means that will be as a number, okay, number underscore format, and number format I make it as a float. So that will be as a float, and then we have to pass our this value. So now I cut it, and here after this I simply paste it, okay. So that means the value and grade point, and grade point after that grade point, that will be as a 2 number format. So now I make it as a 2, okay. That means after that automatically it will be added the 2 0. So that's all. You can also display that things like that way, okay. Now if you click as a save all, I click as a save all, and now if you go there, here I have already removed that 00. So now if you click as a refresh, yes, you can see it's not perfect. So automatically it's added another number format as a float, as a double, that means a 00, okay. So I have used that 2, that means it will be added that 200. So now you can see it's now successfully updated. So you can use that things like that way. So here I simply updated that portion, okay friends. So I hope it's very much clear to you. So right now I close it, and then here I want to take one of the variable. I take one of the variable. I just name that variable as a count fail. As I told you, we have to find out all that our fail count. So I put one of the condition. So everything now we have to work with our this table as a student mark table. So to the student mark table I have already loaded it. So that is our student mark, right? So now I copy it. So that will be as a student mark. So with this student mark model, that means in this table I put on the condition as a where condition, where our year ID will be our this requested year ID. That means here that requested ID, I take the things with this variable. So now that will be our this year ID, okay. And also we have to do the same things for our class ID. That means the where our class, that means the class ID will be our this requested class ID, right? So that means this requested class ID. So this year ID and the class ID, if you go to our student marks, into the student marks table, you can see that is actually year ID and the class ID, okay. So now also I want to add that our exam type and the and then ID number. So I want to put another condition as a where our another one will be as a exam type ID. Exam type ID will be our this requested exam type ID. So I simply copy it. So that will be as a this requested exam type ID, and then also I have to get that with the ID. That means the ID number, ID underscore number. ID number will be our this requested ID number. I take it with this variable. So now I simply pass it. So that is our this ID number. That means in our student mark sheet, that is our ID number, and this will be for our this requested number, right? So here I pass it. That is our requested one. So here I pass it, so that is our requested one, and I take the things with this variable. I simply add the things on here. Okay, and after that I want to calculate that failing count. Failing count means I put as another where condition. I put another where condition, and here in our student marks, into the student marks table, there are also another field as a marks, right? When these marks will be less than the 33, that means when it will be as a 32 or the 31 to the 0. So then I want to get all the data, and I also want to count it. Okay, so that is our marks field. So I want to use that as a marks. So into the marks field, I want to put that condition when it should be as a less than. Okay, when it should be as a less than, and when it should be less than from to the 33, then I want to get all the data. So I simply get all the data, and then I also want to count it. So I add that count function. Okay, so I hope it's very much clear to you. So if you want to check it, you can also check it better. I want to put one of the DD. Okay, I want to check it. So that is our DD, and with this DD I want to check our this count fail. If there have anyone, then automatically it will be get this data. So now I want to use it. So that is our count fail, and now if you click as a save all, and now go there, now refresh it. Now I select one of the year, I select the class, I select the terminal, I put one of the ID number, right? So right now if you go to our type, so that is actually one of the ID number as this one, right? So now I want to use this one. I copy it, so that will be as the ID number, and now click as a search. Now you can see it's now opening with the new tab, and now you can see it's now showing as a 0. That means they have no failed student data, right? That means that is totally fine. Everything is working perfectly on here. So right now I have checked it. So better I put some of the note for you, and then I want to take another variable. Okay, I take another variable as a single student. I have to get all that our single student data. That means I want to get a specific one row ID data. So that will be just like that same. Better I copy it. Okay, I copy it, so that will be just like that same with our student marks, with this student marks, where our year ID will be as a year ID, where our class ID will be our requested class ID, and type will be, that means the exam type will be as a requested exam type, and the ID number will be as a requested ID number. Then I want to get a specific one row data. Okay, that means our first data. So right now here we don't need this where condition. I simply close everything. Okay, I simply close everything from here, and I want to use it only the first. So that means the first data I want to take. Okay, so here I want to take that first data, right? So now we have to create one of the function. Here we have to add one of the function, and with this function we have to get all that our marks. Okay, all that we have to get that all that our marks, we have to get all that our grades. So we have to work little bit in particular this method area. Better I want to continue this process. In our next video I will complete our this Marksheet method. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.